Hello, everybody. I'm Breanna, by the way, out of the three of us. But yeah, we're really happy to be joining you all today as we introduce you to Communities ChooseWell and as we talk about the importance of building healthy communities and neighborhoods. And just again, thank you to all these awesome panelists for sharing your expertise and knowledge, and for Housing for Health for having us be a part of this conference. So before we even start, we do want to start with a land acknowledgement. I know one was said earlier. However, we still do want to acknowledge all of the Indigenous communities that we work with, including the First Nations, the Métis, the Inuit, and all of the people across Alberta who share a history and deep connection with this land. And we're very grateful to be here in Amiskwaciy-Waskahikan in Treaty 6 territory, and we dedicate ourselves to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. So we'll skip over. You met us, you know us. I'll pass it over to Patrick. I'll move back.
I'm going to hunch so we don't have to move microphones. So Communities ChooseWell, for those of you who don't know, is a program that's managed by the Alberta Recreation and Parks Association and is funded by Alberta Health. Our main goal is to promote healthy eating and active living in the province. You can see our mission statement here, creating local conditions and environments that enable all Albertans to eat well and be active. Next slide. So some of our work, the work that we do is primarily working with community champions, trying to build the capacity in the champions so they can go back to their community and make their communities healthier places to live. And so we do that through education. We have an annual Healthy Community Symposium that was a 2-day event in March at the Grey Eagle Resort in Calgary this year. We have a lot of online e-courses, primarily healthy eating and recreation settings e-course, as well as a couple of newer ones, including one on Indigenous food systems and one on equity, diversity, and inclusion. HCF stands for Healthy Communities Framework, which Bree's going to go over briefly in a minute here. She's our HCF expert. We also do grant funding. We do recognition and awards for communities and champions, and we provide networking opportunities. So probably our most popular and well-known initiative is our grant funding initiative. We provide healthy community grants of up to $5,000 to communities across Alberta to work towards newer enhanced projects that support healthy eating and active living in their communities. And in terms of our online resources, I already mentioned the e-courses, but we also have what we call our Walking with Indigenous Communities stream, and a part of that is an oral knowledge hub. And so we've been trying to work with Indigenous communities and Indigenous elders in particular to have that knowledge somewhere that can be shared. And so that, especially during the pandemic, we started doing a lot of webinars in a series called our Grandmother's Circle webinars, where we brought together Indigenous women's elders and as a way to bring them together when we couldn't be together in person during the pandemic. We had the Zoom webinars that were on a variety of topics around health and wellness in Alberta, in their communities. So for our awards, we recognize one champion a year that's doing great work. We also recognize with our Wellness Leadership Award, one elected or appointed official that's particularly doing good work as a wellness champion. And then what we're mostly here to talk about today is we're going to share some stories. So we collect most significant change stories from communities, and we recognize them at our symposium as well.
We are one unit up here. Let me just grab my slides. So yeah, Healthy Communities Framework sounds a lot like the Healthy Communities Guidelines. And so the Healthy Communities Framework is our newest resource that we've launched in the last year. And it's a free online community development tool designed to help increase healthy eating and active living in communities across the province. It's composed of, similarly, 7 key areas, but we're calling them pillars. And those include policy, places, people, partnerships, programs, promotions, and participation. And each of those pillars provides suggested action steps folks can take to help their communities build towards a healthier future, as well as community spotlights, which are success stories that feature local champions who are doing really great work at the grassroots level in the areas of healthy eating and active living. Additionally, we do recognize ourselves as an ally organization who happens to work with a lot of Indigenous communities in the province. So each pillar also includes Indigenous resources and ways of knowing, success stories as well that help shape each pillar from that Indigenous lens. We've been working with a really great group of stakeholders in health promotion, municipal recreation, and rural communities who have been helping us to review this resource so that we can create content that reflects the needs of our target audiences. And our target audiences for our framework consists of elected officials, rec practitioners, rec managers, community members, volunteers, nonprofit organization board members and directors, Indigenous serving professionals, and municipal staff and governments. So that's a little background about our little Healthy Communities framework that's continuing to evolve as we build each day. It's very new. But we wanted to highlight how it aligns with the Healthy Community Guidelines of Housing for Health's newest resource as well. And similarities between the two is that they really are they're both tools to inspire and foster healthy communities. We definitely have the same goal there. They're both intended for multi-sectoral professionals and community residents to use in their strategies towards building healthier communities. And what's exciting is that they both kind of parallel many, if not all of those healthy community guidelines in some capacity. However, our framework focuses more greatly on like healthy food environments and physical activity, whereas our places pillar in particular would be the pillar that reflects most similarly to the healthy community guidelines. So it has a focus on that physical built environment aspect and includes elements like active transportation, creating healthy recreation facilities and green spaces. So those are just a few parallels that stood out to us, but we're really excited about the Healthy Community Guidelines from Housing for Health, as I think we anticipate some collaboration in the near future. I think this will be really great. So just a little bit there. I'll pass it over. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep, you're definitely right about that. Thank you. So next, we have some community stories to share. Now that you've gotten to know a little bit about the ChooseWell program, we just want to share with you some success stories from champions from rural communities in the province who are doing great work to support healthy eating and active living. We chose these stories because they are great examples of communities striving to build those healthier neighborhoods and really align with some of these healthy community guidelines recommended by Housing for Health. So let's get into them. Okay.
All right. Our first story is from Vulcan. All of our stories today were focusing on municipalities that really did good work in terms of creative use of their space. So Vulcan's done a few things over the past few years that are sort of noteworthy. What the video you're going to see in a minute is recognizing is they took two green spaces, and green spaces sounds too generous for them. I think they took two vacant lots basically in residential areas of their town and turned them into community parks. One of them they turned into a small disc golf course, and the other one they turned into sort of a permanent standing backyard game. So they had games like beanbag toss and ladder ball and things like that. And we recognized them with one of our awards in 2021. And we have the video here, which hopefully we can play now.
Is it with the clicker?
Do we have to click it?
Yeah, let me try the.
Something that the town wanted to do was to be able to utilize their green spaces and park area more. And with the Kinsmen, when they brought this proposed park suggestions to us, we thought it was a great match with our community. It helped us revitalize some park area that had been underutilized for a long time.
So the Kinsmen Club is all about community support and serving the community. That's why this, a project like this was kind of right up the alley of the Kinsmen, especially with COVID and its new restrictions and kind of things being funneled more toward outdoor activities.
The biggest thing with the parks is that we wanted people to be able to go there individually or with a small amount of people and be able to play those games without having to have a full-on team or commitment of 10 people in order to actually make it work, like a baseball game or a rugby game or things like that. The 4 categories of games would be ring toss, ladder ball, horseshoes, and beanbags. And the second phase was our disc golf.
We teamed up with the library, and the library has equipment there for people to come and loan out free of charge. Library cards are no cost, so it really reduces a lot of the barriers for people. People won't hopefully feel too isolated, and then they can come out and participate in some of these wonderful park activities.
All right, and here you can see a few pictures from their backyard parks. One other thing I just wanted to flag that Vulcan's done over the past few years that I thought was noteworthy is they talked to their local golf course and had them allow cross-country skiing on the golf course during the winter months, and they provided also a cross-country ski and pole rental from the local library, just try to reduce barriers there too. So Vulcan's doing a lot of great work in those areas. And I will pass it over to Emilia.
Yeah, okay, so the next story we're gonna be sharing with you is from Fort MacKay. Sorry, flip these pages. Patrick likes to talk off the cuff, so he doesn't even read the notes, so I gotta flip to my part now. Yeah, so Fort MacKay and the Fort MacKay Wellness Center got a ChooseWell grant in 2017. And with the funds from that, they created a little indoor community garden. So you can see there, they're the 3 grow towers. And these towers are tended to by about 25 youth, handful of community members, and staff from the wellness center as well. Yeah, so the food that they grew, it was open to everyone in the community to share in. It included a variety of lettuces, herbs, tomatoes, peppers, you name it, they probably grew it. I think they grew bok choy at one point too. Yeah, and this was a really important project for this community specifically. In Fort MacKay, fresh produce is really at a premium. Their closest grocery store is, I think, 50 kilometers away in Fort McMurray. So sort of that access piece and that affordability piece was really helped with this project. So you can see this is what the grow towers looked like when they were first installed, and that is them now. So they are flourishing, and we love to see it. The harvest from these grow towers actually also makes it into a young chefs program that the Wellness Center runs. So those fresh ingredients are used to also teach youth about healthy cooking habits and stuff like that. Lots of cool stuff going on at the Wellness Center. So in terms of those ties to the community guideline themes, obviously the healthy food environments piece, growing fresh produce to support food security and healthy eating for children and in families that are involved with the Wellness Center. And then that social connection piece as well through the youth and community coming together to learn and to tend the garden together. And then in terms of relating it to the sort of the neighborhood theme, the indoor garden was really just a way for the community to come together and to set the kids and families up with healthy eating habits, hopefully for life. Julia, who is the lead for this project, was telling us how, you know, the kids were really wanting to eat the vegetables and they loved them because they had grown them themselves. And kids were going home to their families and being like, oh, I want to let's go to the store and get ingredients to make a salad because that's what we eat at the Wellness Center. So stuff like that, where even just a small project like this with just 3 grow towers, the effects sort of really ripple out into the larger community there as well. And there are some more pictures you can see here. So there's a nice community garden sign. You can see the kids just to the right of that. That's them planting the seeds that go into the grow tower. And you can see all the beautiful produce. Look how pretty that is. All right, and I'll pass it off to Bree.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, unfortunately, Casey Yellowbird couldn't be here today. He was actually running for band council for Samson Cree Nation and has decided to take personal leave because he's exhausted from that whole process. So gotta respect that when you can identify that you're feeling burnt out. That's how he's feeling, so he was unable to make it today. However, he is like family to us at ChooseWell, so he's granted us permission to speak on his behalf a little bit about his work at Samson Youth and Sport Development. He's a longtime champion of ChooseWell, I think just over 11 years now. And we have some great resources to share that highlight the work that's happening in Samson Cree Nation as it relates to healthy eating and active living. So Casey, as we heard, is the manager of Samson Youth and Sport Development, and he was able to bring his grandfather's vision to life and brought forth the community hunting program. It was a plan to use the meat from his hunts and kind of be able to supply that meat to the community. So the project aim was to help combat food security in Musqueam, but also the four nations within Musqueam, which is Samson, Ermineskin, Louisville, and Montana. Today it is known as the Community Freezer Program, and it's about Casey bringing a few of his fellow hunters out with him, and they go about 2 to 3 times a month and bring back the animals to teach youth how to harvest it, teach them the importance of this traditional land-based activity, and teach them, how to prepare and distribute it to the community as well. So now, from that vision, they now have 2 large deep freezers in their community rec center, and it's stocked with fresh game. The food is served to elders, it's offered at cultural and recreational events, and it's given to community members with little to no income. And really, the project does help change the way people eat, and it provides them with a healthy option with the goal of providing positive reinforcement and helping youth connect to culture, tradition, and community as a way to heal from trauma. So in terms of how it ties to healthy community guidelines of Housing for Health, of course, we have that healthy food environment. It's for the whole community, trying to educate people on what to look for when harvesting meat and being able to give them healthy meat in the traditional fashion that was prohibited from them for a long time and still kind of is. It gives that social connection piece as well. It's a chance for youth and elders to learn together, being able to kind of transfer that knowledge down to younger generations is key in establishing and maintaining culture and identity. And beyond meeting the practical needs of the community, the initiative here really helps to serve the youth and inspire the youth. Samson's population, I think like 87% of them, is under the age of 30, so it's crucial to share these activities with the youth. And of course, it relates to physical activity and educating those to teach them that hunting on the land is a traditional form of physical activity. It requires movement, it requires strength, resilience, and knowledge and interaction with the land. The tools and resources that they used to make it happen was a Community ChooseWell grant from us. They also needed adequate space for harvesting the meat, so they are lucky that they were able to use their recreation facility. And of course, like-minded individuals, it takes many hands for light work, as Casey Yellowbird likes to say. In terms of its relation to the neighborhood theme, again, it was that family vision. It transformed an entire community where community members of all ages can come together and learn from and share the benefits of traditional hunting practices. The community now has access to healthy meat while regaining a sense of cultural identity, which is something so vital for building strong communities and neighborhoods. Casey wanted us to share that an elder once told him that the root of many problems in our Indigenous communities is grief. And Casey believes that grief is not always the loss of life. They're grieving the loss of their culture, traditions, and most importantly, language. So part of the solution to that is this hunting program. It's learning those traditions, those cultures, and trying to find your place in society and in community. It's a whole process of finding yourself. So we just wanted to pass that on. So positive reinforcement through connection to culture has ultimately led to healthier behaviors and practices in the community of Samson. So we have a video, enough about me, enough of listening to me, I should say. The next video is from our visit to Samson Cree Nation last August. We were able to learn more about the youth programs ran by Casey and his team at Samson Youth and Sport Development. So we were privileged to also have witnessed the traditional harvesting of a moose nose and tongue. You might see a little bit of that in the video, but it doesn't necessarily speak directly to the Community Freezer program, but it offers insight into the perspective of an Indigenous community and what it takes to help foster healthy behaviors, healthy neighborhoods through recreation and implementing traditional Indigenous practices. There we go.
Food sovereignty connects to Indigenous communities, so we have to come up with solutions on how we can combat that. When there's no better, greater solution than, hunting and doing what your ancestors did to survive. This is how our people are gonna be able to survive, not just with the food, with the consumption, but also with the knowledge. The Community Freezer Project has been going on since 2011-ish. I started talking to people. I said, hey, look, if we ran this program, would you guys support it? People said, yes, of course we would support it. People that are working here also know that people come by quite often to come pick up some wild meat.
It feels good to be working with our community. I take a lot of pride in being able to help every kid individually however they need it, put together programs and camps, try to do as much as we can for the youth. It's good to see helping kids find that love of the game, increasing their skill along the way and perspective and stuff like that. You love a sport enough and you want to dedicate your time, just do that. Don't listen to anyone and hone your craft, gain a lot of new friendships and learn a lot of things and keep up sport and live a healthy, active lifestyle.
Football did a lot for me. I don't know where I'd be without it, It taught me a lot, and our coach always told us things it's not just about football, it's about turning young boys into young men. And I ended up getting asked to coach a Bantam boys football team in Pinoca. So I coached them, and I realized I kind of like teaching and passing on knowledge. I decided to take my career into education. My goal eventually is when I'm a teacher, I can bring a football team to Musqueam East.
The recreation perspective for children is so important because it's a way to regulate a child, regulate many children to help them feel supported and cared for and safe. When we talk about that mind-body connection, how important it is for kids to be moving and being active is part of healing and releasing their trauma. Being the community wellness manager in Ermineskin, I have Samson band members going, can we join? Can we be a part of that? So we don't heal together by being narrow-minded. We heal together by being open to saying, okay, well, how do we help our neighbor? Casey and his team have done a wonderful job opening it up and saying, hey, let's work together. Coming from that generation where we grew up and seeing the money, but knowing that money's not there now, we have to be resourceful.
We've been partnered with Communites ChooseWell for the last 10 years. I actually just showed the plaque in my office just to prove, and I've had that plaque in my office for quite some time as a reminder of, the importance of partnerships, the importance of, creating collaboration.
So yeah, it ties into a lot of that collaboration piece and looking to make those healthier neighborhoods and communities together. They're doing a great job out there, a lot of great work. And I just wanted to touch briefly on just their physical environment of their prep space and harvesting processes. So obviously a lot of this work is done out on the land. There's Casey with his hunting buddies there. But also they need to have the space adequate enough and large enough to bring this animal back. And so they're fortunate enough to have a back shop garage at their local community rec center, and it's accessible. They have a garage door that opens so they can get in there with vehicles and ATVs. They have 2 large freezers to store the moose heads and meat. They have a large table for preparing the meat. It's just a large space to have room for the kids to gather around as well. And there's a lot of sanitation practices that come into that as well. But again, they're just working with the space that they have. And so I'm not sure to what level Casey would be able to speak to it a lot better than I could, just about establishing ventilation and making sure that it's a sanitary environment for this practice to happen. But yeah, that's a little bit about Samson Cree Nation from an Indigenous lens there. So I'll pass it over to Emilia.
Yes. I guess we're not doing questions right now. We'll do questions kind of probably at the end with everyone / panel discussion now, and 1 minute, so this is good timing. In conclusion, these communities are one of many stories that we've encountered throughout our time working here. If you were inspired by these and want more, we have a website, communiteschoosewell.ca. There's a lot more stories like this on there that you can look at, videos and written as well. And I think it really just goes to show kind of what the power of creativity and just a little bit of a funding injection can get you in a community. Even just these small projects like 3 grow towers, a couple of freezers, or sort of reinventing a couple structures in a park can really make a huge difference in the community. So yeah, thanks again for having us here. Don't hesitate to connect. You can find our contact information also on our website. We'd be happy to hear from you, or come find us. We'll be here tomorrow as well. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Good job, team. As I say.